The Prince of Northern Jin guarded the northern territories, commanding the elite cavalry of the north. A born military genius with illustrious battle achievements, the princess consort of Northern Jin was frail and often ill, bearing only one son. While the inner court teemed with numerous wives and concubines, the prince also had a beloved concubine, known since humble beginnings. Stunningly beautiful, though of lowly status, she was deeply favored. 3 years after the princess consort's untimely demise, I married into the Northern Jin prince's mansion as his second wife. After the marriage, everyone praised my compassionate heart and magnanimity, worthy of a noble lady from the capital. Only the prince, holding my hand late at night, gazed at me with complex emotions and softly asked, "Seong, do you truly have a heart?" 15 years had passed since my transmigration, coinciding with my coming-of-age ceremony. I journeyed from the capital to the distant northern deserts to become the second wife of the Prince of Northern Jin, born into a family of wealth and refinement. Steeped in literary tradition, I was doted upon for all 15 years. The day the imperial decree was announced, my aged father stayed awake through the night. The Xie family upheld upright morals. Though a large clan with occasional discord, it was generally harmonious and joyful. My father and elder brother, both stalwart men, wept as they looked at each other. It's our failure, lacking the power to protect you. The elders at home were particularly downcast, but my mother held my hand and said gently, "I know my daughter will surely make a good life for herself." On my wedding day, my dowry procession circled the entire capital twice. My father packed half of his study's rare books for me. The fishing rod I had long coveted was delivered to my courtyard by Uncle Xie the night before the wedding, along with 2 highly skilled female guards and a list of useful contacts in the northern frontier. Third, Uncle Xie was deeply apologetic, admitting he knew neither poetry nor elegance, only the stench of copper coins, and gifted me 7 properties in the northern frontier, showering me with money relentlessly. Thank you, third uncle. More, please. My wedding procession traveled for over a month before reaching the border of the northern frontier. Heavy rain poured from the sky, forcing the caravan to take shelter at an inn. Those around me grumbled, "We've already entered the northern frontier, yet the Prince of Jinbei still hasn't come to greet his bride. How utterly rude." I was fiddling with a Chinese puzzle ring and glanced at the sky upon hearing this. "It might get colder later. The temperature fluctuates greatly here. Fetch the quilts and distribute them to ensure the guards don't catch a chill." Yiling acknowledged, and I added, "Not just us. Give some to the Jinbei escorts as well. You're just too kind-hearted." I raised an eyebrow and said with a smile, "Indeed, I am truly benevolent." No sooner had I spoken than commotion arose from the front courtyard. A guard reported, "The Prince of Jinbei has arrived with his cavalry to fetch the bride." The maids around me grew flustered. I hadn't even begun my makeup, and I'd already removed the bridal attire. I halted the preparations and said lazily, "He's probably just chasing the Huns to the border and decided to pick me up along the way. If he's this discourteous, why give him any respect?" I wasn't wrong. The Prince of Jinbei was indeed perfunctory, having pursued the enemy to Huizhou before suddenly remembering there was still an imperial bestowed bride to collect on his way back. The northern winds were fierce. As I stepped out, a gale swept through. The Prince of Jinbei, Huiyang, sat tall on his steed, clad in armor with a blade, exuding a chilling aura. A majestic falcon perched on his shoulder. Our eyes met. His gaze was sharp as an arrow, mirroring the haughty falcon above. After a long moment, I lowered my eyes and offered him a curtsy. Huiyang stared at me for several seconds before turning his horse around. We return. Thus, the wedding procession entered Huizhou, the capital of the northern desert. To be honest, it was hardly dignified. Huiyang's actions made it glaringly obvious to everyone that he was dissatisfied with this marriage and indifferent to me, his princess consort. The wedding was held the very next day in Huizhou, a mere formality, nothing worth mentioning. After the ceremonial bows, we entered the bridal chamber. Zhou Yan lifted my veil and suddenly chuckled. the renowned noble lady of the Xie family, living up to your fame. I smiled faintly. Having met you today, I see the prince is no less impressive. Huiyang seemed to find this mildly intriguing at last. He picked up the wine jug and asked, "Do you drink?" Before I could answer, someone announced from outside, "Your Highness, someone from Wanfang Court is here. Lin Shui has a high fever and is already delirious." Lin Shui, the beloved concubine of the Prince of Jinbei, cherished and adored. She met Huiyang in humble circumstances and once served as his maid. Rumors say she took a blade for him in their youth, leaving her with lasting health issues, and all these years, he has guarded her like a precious jewel. The previous princess of Jinbei was perpetually melancholy and passed away young. Her early demise undoubtedly linked to this thorn in her heart. Huiyang set down the wine jug, his voice low as he asked, "Has Qin Changchuan been summoned?" "We've sent for physician Qin with all haste," came the reply. Huiyang gave a hum of acknowledgement, his expression unchanged as he turned to me. I sighed inwardly. "Is that all?" I thought, my interest waning. "Just this petty trick?" "Your Highness should go see her." I rose, took the wine jug, poured myself a cup, and drained it in one go. Holding up the empty cup to Huiyang, I said gently, "The drink you owe me, we shall share it another day." Huiyang laughed heartily and called out to the outer chamber. Fu Quan, a middle-aged man outside, responded, "Your servant is here. Please present my treasured jade wine to the princess. And tomorrow morning, hand over all household affairs to her." Huiyang tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. "Wanyang is delicate. I shall return after checking on her." I bowed in a respectful farewell as he departed. Then I suddenly threw myself onto the wedding bed, plucked a longan from the bedding, and began to eat it, yelling, "Help me freshen up, quickly. I'm exhausted." Then have the kitchen brew some sweet rice dumplings. Make plenty so everyone in the courtyard gets some. We both knew Huiyang definitely wouldn't return. Yuling lowered the bed curtains and asked, "Shall I add some dried osmanthus?" "Yes, I'm especially happy. Adding sweetness helps me sleep warmly." I truly had a good night's sleep. The old princess of Jin Palace had sent word last evening that morning greetings weren't necessary today. With the Jin prince's only heir raised under her care, she avoids me at all costs. I'm quite content with the peace and simplicity. Huiyang did show up during breakfast, dressed in deep purple brocade robes. He looked rather dignified and luxurious, tempering much of that cold-blooded aura. This guy was overly familiar. He washed his hands and sat right down, glancing at the breakfast spread. "The capital's flavors really are different from the northern deserts," he remarked. I mentally rolled my eyes, silently reminding myself this was the bastard's own turf, and I couldn't afford to cross him. Yet, with a smile, I gently asked, "Your Highness, does the food not suit your taste? Shall I have the cooks prepare something else for my kitchen?" "No need. It's nice to try new flavors occasionally." I rolled my eyes inwardly again. My appetite has always been larger than most women's, and I never hid it in front of Huiyang. By the end of the meal, even the Prince of Jinbei looked surprised. The princess consort eats quite heartily. I sipped my soup leisurely. Surely the Prince of Jin's household can afford to feed me? Huiyang laughed heartily again. Aside from his icy demeanor during our first meeting, he was actually quite easy to get along with in private. Then again, even if he felt nothing for me as his consort, he was 10 years my senior. Why would he pick fights with a young girl like me? It wasn't as if we had any conflicting interests. After the meal, I was to meet the consorts and concubines from the rear courtyard of the Prince of Jin's residence. While washing my hands, Huiyang suddenly said, "Wanyang is unwell, so she's excused from paying respects this morning." I sneered inwardly. No wonder he came for the meal. He was waiting to drop this bombshell. "Health comes first," I replied calmly, taking the handkerchief offered by Yuling with a smile. "Since we're both in the prince's household, we'll meet eventually." Huiyang had one secondary consort, one junior consort, one beauty, and one grace. When I read the roster, I nearly blurted out. Good grief, it's like a Khan rallying his troops. Huiyang and I entered, greeted by a room full of beauties paying their respects. I followed Huiyang to the main seat, smiling as I looked each one over, unable to help but marvel at the king of Jinbei's good fortune. Each one is a stunning beauty, truly one in 100. They say true beauty lies in the bones, not the skin. These women were not only radiant, but each possessed a unique charm, though the only flaw was the faint trace of melancholy and sorrow lingering in each of their expressions. The first to greet me was consort Xiaoyin, petite and bearing an air of scholarly elegance. Her first words to me were to introduce her name as she paid her respects. My eyes lit up, and I smiled. I had intended to give you a set of jewelry as a welcoming gift, but now I feel such ornaments would be too vulgar for you. I have a jade flute, bestowed by Her Majesty the Empress, as I've never been skilled in music. Gifting it to you now ensures this fine instrument won't go to waste. As soon as I finished speaking, the atmosphere shifted noticeably. Huiyang raised an eyebrow in surprise, while Xiaoyin looked astonished before graciously accepting the gift with thanks. Next was the secondary consort, the tallest among them. She carried a bold, spirited air. Following Xiaoyin's example, she introduced her name, and even her salute was notably free and unrestrained. Li Lu, a fine name. I gaze at this spirited beauty, knowing even before coming to Ma Bei that your father was once the prince's deputy general, exceptionally skilled with bows. I present you with a horn bow. I hope you won't find it unworthy. Li Li's spirits instantly soared. Unworthy? Not at all. I adore this gift. Thank you, princess. With these two gifts given, the atmosphere had completely relaxed, and I had achieved my purpose. Through this interaction, I openly showcased my temperament and way of doing things while also deepening my understanding of these ladies. The remaining beauty, Jia Yichuan, was the youngest of the group and also the most lively in temperament. I observed her for a long while, for no other reason than that this beauty's makeup was truly exceptional. In modern terms, she'd be an outright makeup artist extraordinaire. After a moment's thought, facing the beauty's expectant gaze, I spoke truthfully. Gifts should suit the recipient's tastes. May I offer you a case of rouge from the capital's Bowie Pavilion? Though not precious, its shade is truly rare. Jia Yichuan clapped her hands. I knew the princess was a woman of exquisite taste. The rouge may not be costly, but the sentiment behind it is priceless. I laughed again, though with a touch of melancholy, knowing the reason for today's harmonious meeting was that, compared to the exclusively favored Lin Shi, they had completely lost hope and abandoned any intention to compete for favor. Perhaps it's better not to compete. What's worth fighting over are the scraps left after men's squabbles, the chewed up remnants they spit out. Young women in the bloom of youth have far more wonderful things to do. The princess has put much thought into this. Huiyang held his tea. Might this prince also receive a gift? How shameless. As if you lack for gifts, you wretched thing. I know your highness appreciates the landscape paintings of the lay artist Wu Chuan. Coincidentally, I have one among my dowry, a gift from my father. It pains me to part with it, but if it pleases you, I shall reluctantly offer it. Huiyang immediately sat up straight. He did indeed admire the works of layman Wu Chuan. But truth be told, the northern deserts were somewhat of a cultural wasteland, making genuine pieces exceedingly rare. Since the princess reluctantly parts with her treasure, this prince must reciprocate. One of the Jinbei king's virtues is generosity. I won't take your gift without return. I have a horse ranch on the northern border. I noticed your guards brought fine steeds, so I presume you appreciate horses. This estate is now yours. Oh my heavens, this isn't some scoundrel. This is a gold mine slipping through my fingers. I smiled and thanked him with genuine sincerity. I don't just enjoy horse racing, fishing, hunting excursions. You name it, I love it all. No worries, there's plenty of time ahead. I'll take my time fleecing him later. I believe in doing things thoroughly, so I called for Yuling to bring an ornate box and handed it to the Prince of Jinbei. This is a gift for Consort Lin Shi, I said. It's a peace charm from Master Wujua of Jing'an Temple in the capital. Would you kindly pass along? The room fell silent. Huiyang took the box, giving me a deep, searching look. The princess is most thoughtful. Thoughtful indeed. The silence spoke volumes. Everyone, knowing this gift, was both precious and heartfelt. After all, it was blessed by Wu Jue himself. Not just priceless, but near impossible to obtain, even with wealth and power. Anyway, I'm tight with the bald monk. Can get as many as I want. Perfect for showing off. Case in point, right now, on the first day of the wedding ceremonies, the entire estate learned that the new princess was gracious and magnanimous. After lunch, I met with the prince's steward Fuchuan, who handed over the household management authority to me. Fuchuan proved to be an exceptionally capable subordinate, explaining everything clearly. The dowager princess previously managed these affairs, but her energy has waned. So I've handled most matters myself. Please feel free to ask about anything unclear, princess. As I flipped through the account books, I grasped the general situation. Even though the Prince of Jinbei doted on Lin Shui all these years, he never promoted her status, let alone granted her such substantive authority. A man's affection truly amounts to nothing. The manor's affairs were numerous, and protocols couldn't be sorted out quickly, especially since my focus wasn't here anyway. The 7 properties and shops my third uncle gave me in the northern desert still awaited my attention. After some thought, I sent for consort Xiao. Xiao Yin arrived promptly and expressed astonishment upon hearing my intention to have her assist with household management, repeatedly declining. This isn't something I can handle. Nonsense about capability. You were born into a scholarly family. I refuse to believe you weren't taught this during your upbringing. I smiled while pouring her tea. This isn't a test. I genuinely need your help. I said gently, give it a try. It must be dull in the mansion, right? Consider it something to occupy yourself with. Xiao Yin fell silent for a long moment. When she lifted her head, her eyes were actually red, rimmed. She bowed to me in respect, and I didn't refuse, accepting it. I knew her reddened eyes weren't because she could temporarily manage the household affairs, but because of what I said about life in the mansion being dull. It turned out my judgment was sound. Xiao Yin was highly capable, with exceptional logical and quick calculation skills. In less than a week, she had organized the entire household, from top to bottom, with perfect clarity. Of course, there were also those who stirred trouble, flattering superiors while bullying subordinates, abusing power for personal gain, and arrogantly causing disturbances under the guise of being long-time retainers of the prince's household. I was somewhat surprised when Xiaoyin told me about it. Having been married into the household for barely half a day, I already knew Jin Wang's residence could be considered strictly disciplined. I hadn't expected there to be such deceitful slackers. It wasn't until Yerling informed me that this matron was one of Lin Shui's people. I raised an eyebrow and asked Xiaoyin, has she always been like this all these years? Before you arrived, the old princess consort managed the household affairs. Though there were occasional transgressions, the prince often dealt with them leniently out of his fondness for consort Lin. Xiao Yin pondered for a moment and added, it's likely that your recent assertive actions and taking charge of the household finances have made the other side uncomfortable. If they're uncomfortable, they'll just have to endure it. But honestly, I find her quite bothersome. I smiled at Xiao Yin. Yin Yang, I'll need you to look into Wanfang Courtyard's accounts from the past few years. It's not that I won't help you check, but you're new, and might not realize consort Lin's standing in the prince's heart. Xiao Yin worriedly grasped my hand. Didn't the lady before you try investigating? In the end, the prince protected her and even used his own private funds to cover Wanfang Courtyard's expenses. Xiao Yin frowned delicately. You're new here and still young, with many days ahead. It's best not to create a rift with the prince. My heart warmed at her words. This foolish girl, trapped in her own difficulties, still wanted to save me. Investigate. I'll handle everything. Don't be afraid. I reassured her with a smile. What if it causes a rift? I never intended to seek his affection anyway. A man's affection is the cheapest thing in this world. The accounts of Wanfang Courtyard were a shock to everyone once audited. And this was already excluding Hui Yang's private subsidies. I couldn't help but wonder, was Lin Shui drinking ambrosia? How did she manage such extravagant spending every month? Xiao Yin explained, she has 2 younger brothers, indulging in drinking, gambling, and all sorts of vices. I tossed the account books aside, handled matters by the rules, and took our people with me. I looked at Yiling. Before the Prince of Northern Jin returns, this matron must be dealt with thoroughly. I've always trusted Yiling to get things done. That day, the matron of Wanfang Courtyard was directly sold off. Lin Shui fainted from shock and rage. Every entry from the past half year was scrutinized. Punishments were meted out according to the rules, and the entire estate was shaken by these actions. Only then did everyone realize, though I am tolerant and kind-natured, I am not to be trifled with. The Prince of Northern Jin returned late at night and went straight to Wanfang Courtyard to see the just awakened Lin Shui. When Huiyang came to me from Wanfang Courtyard, I was playing with a 9-linked puzzle, a pastime I'd improved upon, quite fitting for killing time. The Prince of Northern Jin showed no discernible emotion, but his gaze lacked its usual gentleness as he came straight to the point. Did you sell off Wan Yang's nanny? Yes. This servant curried favor with superiors while bullying subordinates for personal gain. Selling her off was already lenient. I handed him the account books. Your Highness may review them yourself. Huiyang slammed the account books violently onto the table. Who gave you permission to touch Wanfang Court? His gaze turned icy as he demanded sharply. Who granted you this authority? I met his gaze squarely. Is Wanfang Court not part of the princely estate? Is Lin Shui not your concubine? My voice remained calm, yet fearless. Did you not entrust the household management to me? How dare you? The Prince of Northern Jin struck the table abruptly. Consort, do you realize whom you're addressing? I nearly laughed aloud. This wretched man had clearly intended to use my given name, but realized he didn't even know it despite my nearly month-long marriage into this household. Your Highness, I am your lawfully wedded wife, and you personally placed the household management in my hands. I poured the long, prepared wine. If you are dissatisfied with me as your consort, I shall move to the mountain retreat tomorrow and never interfere with household affairs again. The aroma of wine lingered between us. The Prince of Jinbei's mood softened slightly. I felt a pang of regret. Why had he retreated? He should have banished me to the back hills. I handed him a cup of wine, the jade brew he'd gifted me last time. Huiyang traced the rim of the cup and said coldly, Wanfang Court's expenses come from my private funds. If you resent Wan Nyang, find another pretext. I genuinely wondered aloud, Your Highness, do you handle military affairs in the barracks with the same approach? I slid the account book toward him. I haven't audited your private ledger. This is the public record for all manor residences. Consort Lin's matron has embezzled nearly 500 taels over the years. Meeting the prince's gaze, I asked softly, Is this also evidence of my resentment toward Consort Lin? The prince's eyes fell upon the accounts. The records were meticulously clear, and his expression darkened completely. I softened my tone, employing a strategic retreat. Your Highness, personal favoritism is human nature. I take no issue with that. But as your principal consort, my duty is to consider the entire manor's welfare. I rose and approached him, resting my hand upon his shoulder. Lin Shui is in poor health, and it was my fault for being too aggressive and frightening her. I plan to double the allowance for Wanfang Courtyard from now on. Since she's frail, she'll naturally need more silver than the rest of us. The Prince of Jinbei held my hand and said, You've been very thoughtful. I inwardly scoffed but softened my tone. I've had the kitchen prepare the dishes you love. As for that cup of wine you owed me from last time, will you repay it today, Your Highness? Huiyang's expression relaxed. He downed the wine in one gulp, his large hand gripping my waist. Let's see just how well the princess consort holds her liquor today. That cup of wine ultimately went unreturned. As a servant from Wanfang Courtyard came to report, Lady Lin has developed a high fever again and is somewhat delirious. The Prince of Jinbei frowned. and I quickly urged, "Your Highness, please go check on her at once." I also called for Yiling to fetch something from my study. "This is medicine my family obtained from Master Wujue of Jing'an Temple before my wedding. It's highly effective against fevers. Please take it for Lady Lin to try." Huiyang remained silent for a long while, his gaze fixed on my anxious expression, before finally accepting it and turning to leave. Once the Prince of Jinbei left, I stretched lazily with relief and said casually, "I'm starving. Serve the meal." The table was filled entirely with capital style dishes I ordered, not a single one the Prince of Jinbei supposedly favored. As expected, Yang didn't return that night, but the next day he sent over a pile of gifts. Say what you will about Huiyang, but one thing's certain, he's generous. Good things are meant to be shared, so I invited the sisters from the rear courtyard over. Xiao Yin arrived and grasped my hand. "You have no idea how worried I was about you last night. I barely slept." "Relax. I told you it'd be fine." Li Lu, ever blunt with her likes and dislikes. "You're something else. That lady from Xiaowan Courtyard has such pull. Not only did you walk away unscathed, but you got rewards too. You've no idea how much the previous sister suffered from Lin Shi's bullying. Lin Shi got what she deserved. She was too greedy. Not wanting to dwell on the poor girl before me, I changed the subject. See if there's anything you like. Pick what you want and stay for dinner. Later, we'll play mahjong. As a classic table game that's captivated people for millennia, mahjong holds an immeasurable allure. As they played, the girls gossiped, and of course the topic couldn't escape the one in Wanfang Courtyard. The prince's feelings for her went far beyond mere favor. Li Yu, having known Huiyang the longest, knew much more about many matters. Though she came from a maid's background, after the prince succeeded to his title, he ennobled her as Shui, personally taught her reading and painting, managed properties under her name, and even found positions for her two younger brothers. I raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised. I had always thought Huiyang had little genuine feeling for her, but it seemed this was true love after all. The prince had planned for her to such an extent. Everyone understood he intended to elevate her status. Jia Yichuan played her card, and guess what? After half a year of teaching, she still couldn't recognize all the characters in the 1,000-character classic. Half the properties under her name went bankrupt, managed in complete disarray. Her two brothers were even more useless, soaked in the wine vat, so to speak. Xiao Yin laughed lightly, delivering a coldly humorous remark. If parents love their children, they plan for their long-term future. Pity that indulgent mothers often ruin their sons. At these words, half the group collapsed in laughter while the other half gasped for breath. I gave Xiao Yin a thumbs up. When it comes to insults, nothing beats the sharpness of the educated. That was truly a masterclass in sarcasm. After laughing her fill, Li Lu finally said, more than that, the prince was even prepared to fabricate a background for her, just so she could rightfully become his princess. What a pity. The room fell silent. After a long pause, I declared, from now on, our gatherings of four shall forbid any talk of the prince. Jia Yichuan blinked in surprise. Then what else is there to discuss? I feigned mystery. Come to my place tomorrow, and I'll tell you. I own 7 shops in the northern deserts, all gifted by my third uncle, with connections provided by my eldest uncle. In the months since my marriage, I've completed the necessary research and surveys. I drafted several proposals and handed them to the 3 sisters. Take a look first and see which industry interests you. As they flipped through the proposals, Xiao Yin asked halfway, Siyang, are you inviting us to join you? Exactly. Whether it's a bookstore, a tavern, a cosmetic shop, or a tailor's, surely one will catch your interest. I took a sip of tea and explained a concept of investment to my dear sisters. Anyway, why not make some money when there's a chance? Seeing how tempted these ladies look, staying cooped up in the manor every day must be boring, right? Why not try earning your own income, given their family backgrounds? These young ladies surely have their own estates, but those are mostly managed by others. What I'm proposing isn't just novel in form, It offers a strong sense of involvement, letting you be the boss through and through. The three exchanged glances. We're in. Come find me to hang out more often. I looked at Jia Ichuan. Spend a couple days with me, and you'll realize there's more to talk about besides the prince. Just kidding. When it comes to having fun, no one does it better than me. For the refined, blending incense, savoring tea, polishing jade, playing go, pitch, putt, flower gathering. For the casual, pai gao, kuju, bird fights, wooden arrow target games, fishing, amusing birds. I traveled here from a millennium in the future, an era of highly developed material and spiritual life. It'd be downright embarrassing if I couldn't master having fun. The next day, I took all three to the race course Huiyang gifted me. Li Lu was the best rider. Xiao Yin and Jia Ichuan could both handle a horse. Under the vast sky, with eagles circling, the endless plains waited to be conquered. After a couple of laps, I instantly felt all my gloom vanish, my breath turning crisp and cold, an unprecedented sense of exhilaration. On the way back to the estate, I excitedly invited the three sisters to go fishing tomorrow, to sit on the ground and experience a bit of outdoor feasting. The three of them were discussing it animatedly when Yuling came to report. Lin Shuyi is here for a visit. The three sisters fell silent. I raised an eyebrow. So she's finally here. Lin Shuyi is 20 years old, in the prime of her youth. When I arrived, she greeted me with a graceful curtsy, her voice so melodious it made me feel a bit weak. What an exquisitely elegant beauty, like a delicate flower bathed in moonlight, a slender willow swaying in the breeze. Lin Shuyi's beauty was entirely different from that of the other three sisters. Perhaps due to years of illness, there was a frail, sorrowful air about her brow, yet her every movement carried a captivating charm. I found myself speaking more softly with her, thinking no wonder she has held the Prince of Jinbei's favor for so many years. If such a delicate beauty had taken a blade for me and been left with lasting ailments, I'd dote on her too. Since the princess entered this state, I have been unable to pay my respects due to my poor health. Lin Shuyi covered her mouth with a handkerchief and coughed twice. I've been feeling uneasy and hope the princess will not take offense. I was left speechless. I had intended to have the maids serve tea and pastries, but now I swallowed those words. Lin Shuyi was far too frail. Given her years of favor and the fate of my predecessor, I was somewhat afraid she might try to frame me. It's all right. Your health comes first. After a moment of silence, Lin Shuyi smiled and said, "Where did the princess go for leisure today?" "I went horseback riding." "I see," Lin Shuyi said. "It's a pity I'm so delicate. Otherwise, I could have joined in the fun. Tomorrow, we're going fishing. It doesn't require much energy." I invited her. "If you don't mind, you could come with us." Lin Shuyi shook her head. "After taking a blade for the prince, my health has deteriorated severely. Now, I can't even bear a slight breeze." "No way, sis." My inner drama enthusiast instantly deflated. I felt somewhat let down. "Are you really showing your hand this early? How exactly did you win last season's Palace Entry Championship in the Prince's Manor? Also, I'm kind of a jerk, so I'm genuinely curious. How do you and Huiyang manage the, bedroom activities with you being so frail?" Sadly, no matter how curious I am, I can't ask. I felt genuinely wistful, and since Lin Shuyi and I were clearly on different wavelengths, the atmosphere grew awkwardly silent. After a long pause, Lin Shuyi finally spoke. "I came today to personally thank you, Princess. The gift you sent was truly thoughtful and generous. I'm glad you liked it." Lin Shuyi pressed her lips together slightly and smiled. "The princess is indeed just as His Highness described. By social etiquette, I should have asked how Huiyang described me, but I just couldn't muster the energy, so I simply smiled. The awkwardness returned. Lin Shuyi rose. "Then I shall take my leave." I nodded with a smile. "Yuling, please escort Lady Lin out." That evening, Huiyang returned to the estate and, as usual, went straight to Wanfang Courtyard first. This was tradition. According to the three sisters, whenever Huiyang returned from the battlefield or was overly exhausted, He would stay overnight at Wanfang courtyard. The previous princess had argued with him many times over this. As in ancient customs, it was indeed considered disrespectful to the official wife. But I genuinely didn't care. First, I'm not some proper ancient person. Second, I have no interest in Huiyang. Third, if I've already thrown shame to the wind, why would I need dignity? Unexpectedly, Huiyang didn't stay at Wanfang courtyard, but came to my courtyard instead. At the time, I was playing a modified version of classic Monopoly with a room full of maids. That scoundrel Huiyang showed up too suddenly. I was sprawled on the carpet, shaking the dice with glee when he entered the inner chamber. The moment he appeared, all the maids swiftly shifted from lying down to kneeling, trembling as they paid their respects. I sat cross-legged, called out, "Your Highness," and added, "Everyone may leave. Please bring me a cup of sweet milk." I glanced at the Prince of Jinbei. "Your Highness, would you care for something to eat?" The maid retreated with visible relief. "No need." Huiyang raised an eyebrow. Intrigued, "What is this?" "A tabletop game." I handed him the dice. "You'll understand once we play a round." We played 2 rounds of Monopoly. When we finished, the famed Desert North war god looked slightly embarrassed, likely never expecting to sit on a carpet playing such a childlike game. Huiyang coughed twice, finally recalling his purpose for visiting. "Did Lin Shuyi pay her respects to you today?" I hummed absently, my attention still fixed on the Monopoly board. Huiyang paused, considering his words. "Since you entered this state, you've been gracious and gentle. Wanyang has always wished to be closer to you. Today, after paying respects, she said you seemed displeased with her. She returned feeling guilty and uneasy, wondering if it's because of the incident with her courtyard matron." "Not at all. The matron's matter was official. Punishment followed the rules." I looked up from the board, confused. "Are you still playing?" Huiyang fell silent, unsettled by my utterly casual demeanor. I laughed inwardly. This bastard knew saying this would easily make me feel wronged and dissatisfied. Little did he know I couldn't give a damn. It's my fault, too. I was too exhausted from horseback riding today. My mind wasn't sharp enough. I feigned sorrow first. "Your Highness should have told me earlier. Had I known, I would have socialized with Wanfang Court long ago." Huiyang laughed heartily, grasping my hand. This prince always knew the princess consort had a gentle temperament, not the jealous type. I sneered inwardly, itching to spit in his face, but outwardly said, "Since Consort Lin returned with such thoughts, should I send some gifts over to show my regard?" Huiyang gently stroked my hand. "The princess consort handles matters thoroughly. Proceed as you see fit." He leaned close, our breaths mingling, his voice low. "The wedding night wine you owe me, can it be repaid tonight?" I pretended shyness, lowering my gaze, while frantically mentally coaching myself. His face is decent, his figure good, his flirting skills top notch. Eyes open, eyes closed. It'll be over soon. This was bound to happen sooner or later. Huiyang swept me up into his arms, and I let out a feigned gasp of surprise as he pressed me down onto the bed. His nose brushed against mine as he whispered, "How would you like this prince to treat you?" I looped my arms around his neck and murmured, "Be gentle with me." It was quite pleasurable, very satisfying. I'd give it an 80. If he'd kept that gentleness through the second half, it would have been a perfect score. The next morning, I lay in bed reminiscing. Lin Shui had been dining well all these years. That's the advantage of experience. He could do it all, with skills, stamina, and flirtation tactics at a champion level. Yuling drew the bed curtains for me, asked if I felt unwell anywhere, then brought me contraceptive medicine, brewed by Master Wu Jue of Jing'an Temple. Top quality, guaranteed. After breakfast, the 3 sisters came to my courtyard. There was no hiding that Huiyang had stayed the night, and the atmosphere turned subtly tense, especially the transparently pleased Li Lo, whose remarks carried a hint of sarcasm. Xiao Yin frowned and called her name, and for a moment, silence fell over the scene. I wasn't surprised. The main reason we had gotten along well before was that Huiyang paid attention to no one but Lin Shui. Once that balance was broken, no one would feel comfortable. Every woman has her own limitations and struggles. I couldn't stand above them and pass judgment. I made no mention of yesterday's events and asked with a smile, "Still going fishing? I've prepared a fishing rod for each of you." The rods were ready, but without exception, we all came up empty-handed. By the end, even Yuling couldn't bear watching us fail, so she waded into the shallows and speared a fish with a fork. The sky was high, the clouds were thin, and the breeze was gentle. After we finished the grilled fish, we lay back on the grass. Lilu, beside me, suddenly said, "I'm sorry." I laughed. It wasn't jealousy. I just suddenly hated the version of myself that felt malice toward you after hearing the prince had stayed in your courtyard. I know. I chewed on a blade of grass. These girls have already realized their predicament. What traps them in the rear courtyard isn't just the lack of a man's favor, but also their physical and spiritual lack of freedom. The three girls huddled around me, warm and cozy, and I said, "Next time, let's play pitch pot." After that day, Huiyang visited my courtyard more frequently and stayed longer each time. The manor's gossip shifted quickly, with many saying the new princess had skill, and Lin Shiyi's exclusive favor might be fading. I fumed all day. The most insulting way was this: killing with words that strike the heart. Huiyang was quite playful and open to new things. Most of our time together was spent eating, drinking, and having fun. Later, I found this scoundrel not only excelled in warfare, but also had high cultural refinement. So after meals, we could discuss matters of the spirit, from music, chess, calligraphy, and painting to life philosophies. These essential skills for noble ladies in the capital were nothing I couldn't handle. One day, after watching me finish a piece of cursive script, Huiyang praised the fine handwriting and asked, "May I know the princess's maiden name?" "Your Highness may call me Suyang." "Yes, Suyang, a good name," Huiyang said. "It doesn't sound like a lady's name." "Certainly, the best part is not having to hear you call me Wan Yang like you do her. It sounds utterly nauseating." After practicing calligraphy, Huiyang was in the mood to play chess with me. Just as the board was set up, someone came to report that Concert Lin had prepared a rare, exquisite wine and invited Huiyang to taste it. I fiddled with the chess piece in my hand, feeling a hint of disdain inwardly. In the 6 months since I married into this household, I've come to understand that Consort Lin lacks any sense of autonomy. Her only reliance is Huiyang's favor. To what extent does Huiyang dote on her? No matter where he is. If something happens at Wanfang Court, she can always get word to him. Even if Huiyang doesn't stay overnight at Wanfang Court, she doesn't need to scheme carefully. With just any casual excuse, he'll return to her courtyard. It's like a kind of play between them. Like today, claiming she's prepared rare wine is actually her way of throwing a tantrum, telling Huiyang, "I'm unhappy." But as I set down the chess piece, I thought to myself, Consort Lin has enjoyed such privileged resources all these years. So why hasn't she realized? Relying on others will never compare to what you hold in your own hands. After all, it can vanish at any moment. Huiyang frowned. I put away the chess pieces. "Your Highness should go check on her. I'm having my monthly courses today and won't be able to attend to you properly. I've asked Yiling to fetch something. Lin Shui has accompanied you for many years, and her long illness has made her more sensitive. Please be considerate." I took the item from Yiling, a piece of jadeite. I saw it yesterday at the treasure pavilion with Yin Yang and thought it would suit Lin Shui perfectly. "Would you kindly deliver it for me?" Huiyang's expression softened as he reached for my hand. "You've always been the most thoughtful and understanding." Damn, I thought to myself, cursing me so viciously. His expression remained gentle, but he didn't rise, instead instructing a guard to deliver the jade and advising Lin Shui to rest early. His gaze returned to the chessboard. "Suyang, stay and finish this game with me." I feigned appropriate surprise, then conjured a mix of worry and shyness before picking up a chess piece. That night, Huiyang didn't stay anywhere and returned to the military camp. The next day, explosive gossip spread through the manor. Lin Shui had been so enraged the previous night that she trembled and shattered the jadeite I'd sent over. "What a shame," I said carelessly after hearing it. that cost me quite a bit of silver. With such weak nerves, she actually managed to outlast the previous princess consort. Another 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Nearing the mid-autumn festival, the three sisters and I were having so much fun we forgot all sense of duty, until Xiao Ying came running to ask if she could stop managing the household affairs. The estate matters were too overwhelming, leaving her no time for mahjong. I said no. This girl still lacks an understanding of heartless capitalists. Hua Yang's birthday fell around mid-autumn festival. On the day of the banquet, I finally got to meet the estate's sole heir, a pitiful child, raised in luxury, yet seemingly frail by nature. Born prematurely to the late princess consort, he grew up timid and, after losing his mother to illness, never quite won Hua Yang's favor. After offering a timid greeting to me, he sat meekly beside the elder princess consort, while Hua Yang sighed in frustration at his lack of spirit. Halfway through the meal, Lin Shuyu vomited. In an instant, everyone's expressions shifted, each one more dramatic than the last. Hua Yang's expression remained neutral, showing neither joy nor displeasure. As he ordered someone to summon the physician, it was confirmed she was pregnant, 3 months along. An eerie silence hung over the scene for several seconds. Lin Shuyi had always been frail. Despite years of exclusive favor, she had never borne a child. This pregnancy was utterly unexpected. Most eyes in the room shifted to me. The principal wife, had yet to produce an heir, yet a concubine had conceived first. Even the previous principal wife, though unloved, had given birth to a legitimate son. This was a slap to my face, as the reigning princess consort, but that was others' perspective. I've never cared much about face, so long as I live well. Lin Shuyi's eyes reddened, on the verge of tears. With a graceful bow, she actually knelt before me and pleaded softly, "My lady, I know you are kind-hearted. This may be the only child I ever have. I beg you, let this child stay." As soon as the words left her mouth, the dowager princess consort rebuked sharply, "Lin Shuyi, where are your manners?" Even Hua Yang's expression darkened. This marriage was decreed by the emperor, and with the Xie family century, old prestige behind me, I still hold some influence over the fate of this child. My eyes reddened faster than hers, and I quickly helped her up. "I had no idea you thought of me this way." Tears fell as I spoke, sounding even more wrong than her. "This is the prince's child. How could I not keep it?" Lin Shuyi froze for a moment. I wiped her tears with my handkerchief, urging, "Get up quickly. Someone with child shouldn't kneel like this. Your pregnancy is delicate, and it's the prince's heir." I couldn't be happier. Tears silently streamed down my face as I turned to Huiyang with a tearful smile. "Your Highness, send for a physician to ensure Lin Shui's pregnancy is cared for." Huiyang wiped away my tears with his thumb, gave me a deep look, then ordered a physician to be summoned. The dowager princess clasped my hand, repeating "good child" several times. The princess's acting showcase concluded perfectly. Lin Shui's child will be difficult to bring to term. Her constitution has been chronically depleted for years, and pregnancy itself is a life-threatening ordeal. Ensuring both mother and child safety would be extraordinarily difficult. Huiyang couldn't possibly be unaware of this. Yet, after visiting Wanfang Courtyard, he changed his mind. While playing chess with me that evening, he suddenly said, "The physician mentioned Lin Shui's pregnancy is truly hard to sustain." I offered no opinion on such topics. Lin Shui once took a knife for me. She saved my life, but it left her with lasting health issues and difficulty conceiving. Huiyang set down his chess piece, came to my side, and pulled me onto his lap. I've always felt indebted to her. When she begged me in tears earlier to let her keep this child, I ultimately softened. I remained silent, reaching out to perfunctorily pat his head. "Suyang," Huiyang kissed my temple. "When will we have a child of our own?" I feigned shyness, burying my face in his neck, while inwardly cursing every ancestor in his lineage. "You bastard, I'll never bear your child in this lifetime, but I really need to write to that bald monk Wu Jiwa and ask him to get me more contraceptives, preferably some for men." Huiyang is trusting me more and more. Maybe I can actually slip it into his tea. That night, after exercising with Huiyang, we lay in bed chatting idly. As the mood heated up and he was about to start another round, his guard reported, Lin Shui had a miscarriage scare and was bleeding. We both froze. Huiyang looked at me. I yawned, pushed against his chest, and said, Your Highness, go check on her. Huiyang leaned down to kiss my forehead, then got up to dress. Unexpectedly, after having the physician check on her, Huiyang didn't stay at Wanfang Court, but returned to the military camp himself. Huiyang really is growing more attentive toward me. One morning after he stayed overnight, I heard from Yuling that Lin Shui had developed a high fever the previous night. I frowned. Why didn't she call for Huiyang? I cut myself off. There was no way Lin Shui wouldn't have called for him. The only reason was that the guards were no longer relaying her messages. Or rather, they weren't reporting them when they entered my courtyard. A wave of irritation washed over me. Things had just gotten complicated. Once emotions are invested, one naturally expects reciprocation. The reason I'd always played my role so effortlessly was that Huiyang didn't care about me, and I didn't love him. These past few days have made it clear to me. It's not so much that you're tolerant and kind toward Lin Shui, but rather that you simply don't care. Xiao Yin worriedly grasped my hand. You don't care about this petty inner courtyard drama, nor do you deign to compete. But Suyang, the prince is growing fonder of you by the day. How will you keep hiding your true feelings from him? I'm worried too. I'm no master actor. In interactions tinged with emotion, my innate aloofness and coldness are essentially challenging the prince of Jinbei's authority. I need to stir up some trouble to drain Huiyang's energy and diminish his affection for me. I instructed Yuling to deliver prenatal tonic to Lin Shui's courtyard. Yuling looked surprised. I'd always been extremely cautious, fearing Lin Shui might frame me. Use the finest prenatal tonic. I said, I won't harm others, but that doesn't mean others won't harm me. From a benefit standpoint, Huiyang and I are one entity. Sending her pregnancy, nourishing, and spirit, calming medicine was simply my duty. After delivering the medicine for half a month, Wanfang Court reported that Lin Shui had spotting and nearly miscarried. Claiming my pregnancy, preserving medicine was to blame. Hearing this news, I sighed, unsure whether to feel disappointment or relief. Huiyang rushed back from the military camp to the estate. I sat calmly sipping tea as the physician finished taking Lin Shui's pulse and said, The pregnancy, preserving medicine is excellent, but several ingredients in the fever. Reducing medicine, she took conflict with it. Combined with her inherent frailty, this caused the spotting. I asked first, How is Consort Lin? The physician hesitated. Consort Lin's constitution is depleted, and this pregnancy was already precarious, though it's stabilized for now. However, the physician left the latter half unspoken. Huiyang remained silent, his expression unreadable. After a long pause, Lin Shui coughed weakly from the inner chamber. Erlang, the princess consort meant well. This isn't her fault. No one responded. The fever, reducing medicine, and the miscarriage, preventing tonic both came from me. Whether this was an unintended mistake that backfired or a carefully orchestrated scheme from the start depends entirely on the conscience of those judging. I lowered my gaze to the teacup, almost sighing at Lin Shui's naivety. Now, I truly believe Huiyang has spoiled her beyond all reason over the years. Only a man's indulgence could produce such foolishness, devoid of any cunning or strategy. Whether this gets exposed rests entirely on Huiyang's conscience. With a bit of effort to request an investigation or present the prescription to another physician, the truth would be immediately uncovered. But isn't that precisely my goal? I rose and bowed to Huiyang. This matter is entirely my fault. My good intentions led to disaster. I willingly accept punishment. Huiyang helped me up, his gaze profoundly complex, yet his voice gentle. The princess consort exaggerates. After that incident, Huiyang didn't visit my courtyard for half a month. The three sisters grew somewhat worried, but I relished the peace. Yet, I never expected that when Huiyang finally came, he would bring earth-shattering news. After Lin Shui gives birth, Regardless of the child's gender, the baby will be brought to you to raise. My hand trembled as I poured tea for Huiyang, and I looked at him in surprise. Huiyang took out a handkerchief to wipe my hand. Lin Shui cannot raise a child properly, whether boy or girl. They would be ruined under her care. I raised an eyebrow. So you've known all along. This matter has wronged you. Huiyang lowered his gaze, pinching my fingertips. I couldn't read his emotions and felt inexplicably uneasy. Over the years, I've sheltered Lin Shui too much, making her naive. Her actions are foolish and chaotic, and she doesn't even clean up her messes properly. My hand shook again, and I lifted my eyes to meet Huiyang's dark gaze. Suyang, all this time, I've been waiting for you to come to me to prove your innocence. I know there are things you would never stoop to do, yet you didn't, not even expressing any grievance. Huiyang gripped my hand tightly. Since you married into the manor, everyone has praised your tolerance and kindness. But Suyang, he pressed my hand firmly against his chest, his expression complex, but his voice exceedingly gentle. Do you truly have a heart? My heart jolted violently. At this critical moment, my eyes reddened on command, tears falling silently like strings of pearls. Is this truly how you see me? My voice choked with what seemed like the world's greatest grievance, each tear dropping heavily onto Huiyang's hand. Even before our marriage, my mother repeatedly told me that as your princess consort, I must be magnanimous and remember that my interests are always aligned with yours. My prince, my whole body began trembling as I tried to pull my hand from Huiyang's grasp, sobbing. Do you think I'm not jealous of Consort Lin? Don't I know she deliberately used her prenatal medicine to pick fights with me? I've endured this much. Must I also endure your suspicions? The next second, Huiyang pulled me tightly into his embrace, murmuring, my fault, all my fault. He lowered his head to kiss away my tears, whispering, my mistake, don't cry, my dear. Huiyang kissed my sweat, dampened temple, murmuring, your weeping shatters my heart. The Princess Consort's acting award ceremony has once again concluded perfectly. I don't know how Huiyang handled it, but Consort Lin remained quiet all the way until her late pregnancy. It wasn't until 4 months later that Consort Lin, now 7 months pregnant, came to find me. Her complexion was unusually flushed, and though it looked vibrant at first glance, I felt a pang of unease. Such rosiness seemed unnatural for her health condition. She didn't speak at first, studying my face intently before finally saying, when the arranged marriage was decreed, I truly wasn't worried at all. I was somewhat taken aback. I've enjoyed His Highness's exclusive favor for years. He's a man who values loyalty deeply. The former princess consort was the epitome of a noble lady. Yet in the end, I outlasted her until she died of melancholy. She let out an undisguised laugh. But your arrival has nearly changed everything. Consort Lin continued. I simply can't understand it. Side Consort Xiao is aloof. Concubine Li is defiant. And Beauty Jia is coldly detached. I've tried repeatedly to befriend them, only to be met with disdain. I thought to myself, it's only natural they'd envy me for having the prince's devoted affection. Consort Lin looked bewildered as she added, yet they've grown so close to you, even as His Highness has begun to favor you more. I remained silent. You are the epitome of a noble lady, groomed by a great family, expert in hunting, skilled enough for the prince to gift you his beloved horse ranch, accomplished in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, always able to engage him in conversation, no matter the topic. Lin Shui clenched her handkerchief, her gaze toward me brimming with tears. I can never measure up to you. As her tears fell, she said, I used every excuse to summon him back from your courtyard, but he grew impatient each time, until my messages could no longer reach your gates. That's when I knew I had lost completely. I sighed. I never intended to compete with you. Lin Shui dabbed her tears with the handkerchief, saying, see, this is how you are, doing nothing, yet winning everyone's affection. I fell silent again, overwhelmed by that familiar powerlessness, the frustration of never being on the same wavelength as Lin Wan. After the miscarriage medicine incident, the prince proposed that the child, once born, would be raised under your care. Lin Shui said, "Never have I hated my own incompetence more than at that moment." I kept thinking, if only I had studied harder when the prince urged me to learn to read. If only I had seriously managed the estates he entrusted to me. If only I had severed ties with my family, who treated me as their cash cow. Lin Wan burst into tears. Even if it's against the rules, with the bond one share with the prince over the years, surely I can keep the child by my side and raise her to be accomplished. Your Highness, Lin Wan tried to kneel, startling me into rising quickly to stop her. I know you disdain to compete with me. This child will surely be a girl. She poses no threat to you. Lin Wan gripped my hand with all her strength, pleading with her eyes. I beg you, please guide her well and let her grow up safely. A sense of foreboding washed over me, and I comforted her softly. What nonsense are you saying? You are her birth mother. No one's love can compare to yours. I won't make it. I know it. She wept quietly. This is my only wish. I beg you, let her live safely. Let her grow to be a good person. Lin Wan's tears soaked my palm completely. I could only say, I will ensure she grows up safely. Lin Wan wept silently in my arms, nearly drenching the front of my robe. That evening, Hui Yang went to Wanfang Court first thing upon returning from the military camp, and half an hour later, he came to my courtyard. The physician said it would be difficult to ensure both mother and child safety. He held my hand. Early in the pregnancy, the doctor had advised against keeping the child, but she begged me in tears, almost kowtowing. Hui Yang asked me almost bewilderedly, did I make a mistake? I only replied, this was Lin Wan's own decision. On the day of the Double Ninth Festival, while I and the three sisters were picking flowers in the garden, a messenger from Wanfang Courtyard came to report that Concert Lin had gone into premature labor. I immediately ordered the 3 physicians and midwives already in the residence to be summoned, and sent Yuling galloping to the military camp to fetch Hui Yang. Lin Wan's labor lasted over 7 hours. By the end, Xiao Yin leaned against me, pale, murmuring, I've never been so grateful for my lack of favor in the past. She asked, is giving birth always as perilous as crossing the gates of hell? Wordlessly, I patted her back. In the 8th hour, I finally heard the baby's first cry. The midwife brought the child out. It's a daughter, premature, but her body is far too weak. I urgently asked, how is the mother? The doctor shook his head. She's only clinging to life for the child's sake. Lin Wan spent her final days in Hui Yang's embrace. For this woman, it must have been happiness. I sent the child to the old princess consort's care. Hui Yang offered neither approval nor objection. I arranged Lin Wan's funeral. During this time, her 2 younger brothers came to the estate to cause trouble and demand compensation, so I had the guards break 1 leg each and throw them out. On the day of the burial, Hui Yang, who had been stationed at the military camp, finally returned to the estate. It happened to be the winter solstice that day, with thick snowflakes drifting from the sky. After paying our respects to Lin Wan, we returned to the estate. In the carriage, Xiao Yin suddenly said, how dreary, all that striving, only to end like this. Jia Yichuan asked, who exactly is the winner here? Li Le shrugged, perhaps only by not competing can there be no losers. Xiao Yin sighed, but how many truly have the choice to compete or not? Most are swept along by circumstance. After a moment of contemplation, I smiled and said, then all we can do is hold fast to our true selves. Another spring arrived, and I turned 17. That day, the peach blossoms were in full bloom, and Hui Yang held a birthday banquet for me amidst a sea of flowers in the back garden. The 3 sisters each gave thoughtful gifts, but being so familiar with each other, they didn't hold back when teasing me. Li Le clung to me, calling me sister, over and over until I was so dizzy I gifted her the horse ranch Hui Yang had given me. Jia Yichuan kept pouring me drinks until I was tipsy, and in my haze, I promised her a Rouge Pavilion shop. Xiao Yin didn't speak, just gazed at me quietly with a shy, pleading look. I couldn't resist such beauty and gifted her a premium fishing rod along with a half-month vacation. The old princess held Huijingshu in her arms and had the babbling child call me mother. Just call me princess consort. She has her own birth mother, I said with a smile, taking the hand of Hui Yang's only son. You may call me princess consort as well. No matter what, I will treat you as my own. After all, I have no intention of bearing children. The elderly princess consort sighed. You always speak with such clarity. As she spoke, she slipped the bracelet from her wrist onto mine. This jade bracelet was given to me by my mother. She looked at me affectionately. It has brought me a lifetime of peace and prosperity. May it do the same for you. After the banquet, Huiyang brought out his treasured peach blossom wine, and we drank together beneath the peach tree. To this day, my attitude toward Huiyang somewhat resembles that toward a friend, except this friend happens to be my superior. There is no romantic affection between us. The admiration I feign, I wonder if Huiyang believes it or not. We drank cup after cup in silence, chatting casually. Huiyang shared amusing anecdotes about training new recruits days prior. As I laughed heartily, he suddenly asked, Siyoung, why do you not contend? I was taken aback. So, he did not believe me after all. Perhaps I was drunk, for I laughed loudly. Contend? What is there to contend for? Besides you, everyone is a loser. A breeze swept through, scattering peach blossoms all around. The air between us filled with the scent of flowers and wine. Huiyang clinked his cup against mine, then threw his head back and drained it in one go. I never could win your true heart. His voice was bitter. I, too, am a loser. I smiled without a word, leisurely stretching my limbs, suddenly feeling the drowsy lethargy of spring after wine. I thought to myself, after this bath, I shall take a nap. After all, tomorrow, next year, and all the days to come will be filled with leisurely joy.